Good Saturday morning, everybody. Welcome to the Geeky Leaks podcast. Unfortunately, Josh couldn't be here this week, so I'm going to be flying solo. Unfortunately, you're only going to get me this week, but it's going to be a bit of a short episode. I don't have a huge, whole lot of topics like we've been doing the last few weeks, so it's going to be a little bit shorter, sweet and to the point episode, but there's still some interesting stuff in here, so without further ado, let's just jump right on in, I guess. First thing I want to talk about was Asus had a brand new 4K monitor, and now let's go through all of our checkboxes, right? So we got 4K, G-Sync, 144 hertz, quantum dot, and HDR technology. If that's not like pretty much everything that anybody ever wanted in a monitor, I don't know what is. I mean, I myself am not a huge advocate for high refresh rate monitors. Like I game at 60 hertz here, and I'm totally fine with that. But I mean, it never hurts to have, I guess. And again, that's pretty much every box checked as far as I can think. There's not a whole lot else to ask for in a monitor, so I'm afraid to know what the price is going to be. It's probably going to be very, very expensive, but if you're looking for like potentially the monitor, this one might be for you. So I just thought I'd mention it. Moving on though, IBM announced some pretty cool tech this week. They announced that they have a 5 nanometer tech almost ready to go. They don't have any like products announced for it or anything yet, but I just thought this was really cool because I mean, Intel's still rocking 14. AMD and Nvidia are sitting on 14 nanometer right now. The Snapdragon 835 from Qualcomm, and Samsung's new Exynos chip are both just got onto 10 nanometer now, and IBM's over here like, yo, we got like half that size, bro, like twice as small as y'all. So IBM is just killing it with process tech right now. I didn't really realize just how cutting edge they were. So I'm excited to see some products announced from this. Who knows when that'll be? I don't expect it to be this year, and honestly, I'd be surprised if it was even next year, but probably maybe late next year, 2019. Maybe we'll see some new IBM, like Power 9 or Power 10 CPUs rocking this, something like that. I don't know. IBM's servers recently been really cool. They've incorporated like NVLink and stuff in there for the last couple generations, so that's been pretty interesting. So maybe they'll incorporate some of this new tech into that. I don't know. But if you like to follow this kind of thing at all, this is pretty sweet. This is like the cutting edge right now. There's like nothing fancier or newer than this. Anyhow, next up we got NVIDIA Pascal GPUs for mining. What? So this is like custom kind of stations that are going to be released for mining cryptocurrencies. Now you can use them for most things, but there are like some cryptocurrencies that are becoming more resilient to like ASICs and that kind of thing, and I think that's why people are kind of going back to using GPU based mining. So, like, right now, the RX 470s, or 470s, RX 570s, and the 580s are starting to sell out in a lot of places because people are just buying them up, much like they did with, like, the 290 and 290X and stuff, like, almost 4 years ago now, when Bitcoin was, well, it was still around, but it was getting really huge with respect to mining and stuff. So, GTX 1060s have been flying off the shelf for the same reason. So, NVIDIA kind of saw this as an opportunity, and yeah, so I'm going to scroll down a little bit here so you guys can see. You can check this, as per usual, I'll have all the links to the stories in the article down below, so you can check them out. But I just thought I'd get this up on the screen really quick here. So here's kind of a picture of where all the GPUs are going to slot into. You're good for up to 8 GPUs. You get a power supply included with here. You get your fans, like your cooling is included. Everything you need is in here. You can get it with Windows installed on it, everything you need to get up and running to mine. I don't remember if they announced costs for this thing in here. It's still probably going to be pretty expensive, even though they're only 1060s. But, I mean, you can get it up to 8 of them. So, I mean, you figure that plus the cost of the system itself and everything. It's probably still not going to be very cheap. But, I mean, if you're pretty serious about, wanting to set a bunch of these up for mining, this might be a good option. I'm a little bit kind of out of the loop as far as which cryptocurrencies are super popular for mining. I think Ethereum was one that was really popular. I don't know if people are still mining Litecoin or not, but I know that was a thing for a little while. But yeah, if that's something you're interested in, this station might be for you. Again, it might be a little pricey, but if you really want to get some mining done, then this could be the way to go. So moving on, I had a little bit of phone news I was going to talk to you guys about. Specifically with the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. Now, if anybody, even if you don't really follow smartphones and don't follow tech that much, you probably heard about the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. Because that thing was quite the event, shall we say. There was a lot of controversy around it. You know, there was all these jokes about it being a time bomb, and in fact, there was even a mod for GTA 5 where somebody put the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 into GTA, and you would throw it, and it would explode like a bomb. That was actually like I know you guys might be laughing, but that seriously was a thing. Like that, like the jokes for that went on and on. So anyway, needless to say, Samsung obviously is probably going to want to step their game up and really, really get it together, so to speak, for this year's launch, because they want to avoid another episode like that. So there's just a couple of rumors here that I'm going to go over. Take these obviously all with a grain of salt. Who knows what, if any of these are true. I feel like a lot of these are probably reasonably close to what we should see, but we'll go over them anyway. The first one here is just that, you know, the rumors it's supposed to launch in late August, which sounds about right to me. Historically, the Note, up until the Note 5, like the Note 5 was announced in earlier August, mid-August. I think it was like August 12th or 13th. But usually it's late August, maybe early September when they finally hit the shelves. So that sounds about right. Nothing too out of place, but, you know, just lets us know that Samsung's not really pushing anything back, but they're also not, you know, rushing it out like they kind of did with the Note 7. Like when they came out with the Note 7, they were really trying to get it out before the iPhone 7 because, you know, of course, Samsung and Apple are the huge rivals and Samsung wants to get their product out first. But I think this year they're trying to play it a little bit safer and just release it, you know, on their more normal cadence rather than rush it out. The next thing was this. Now, this is kind of cool. This is kind of a rumor with respect to the display of the Galaxy Note 8. Now, of course, we should obviously expect it to be very similar to the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus. It's going to have their Infinity display and have a very, very similar design. But the key thing that I wanted to mention here, and I'll scroll down, and I'll even zoom in. You guys can check the link out for yourself if the image isn't the best here, but I'll zoom in a bit. Now, this image on the left, this is more like what we have with the Galaxy S8 already. And this one on the right is kind of what we're hoping to see and what this, you know, kind of rumor here is kind of predicting with the Note 8, which is basically just at the very top corners of the screen. Oh, excuse me. They want to kind of cut down on those edges and make those corners, I don't want to say sharper per se, but they want to kind of make the curve, well, I guess maybe sharper is the right word. They kind of want to reduce that curve so that the top bezel becomes just all that much slimmer. Because the alleged rumor is that the overall screen size is going to be just ever so slightly larger on the Note 8. But what I'm thinking and envisioning that they're trying to do is probably trying to keep it within the same body size physically as something like the S8 Plus, but still giving it a slightly larger screen, which would be pretty cool. Because I mean, if you've seen the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus already, it's basically a screen with buttons on the side. I mean, that's all it really is. There's not a whole lot of anything else in the front other than screen, which is cool. And the other rumor, which I think is also mentioned in the same article, I don't remember, but I also remember reading that allegedly the fingerprint scanner is now going to be built into the screen, which is pretty cool. I'm down for that, because then you can leave your phone face up on a table and not have the issue that, I mean, I don't know if it's an issue, just it's more preference, but, you know, some people complain about fingerprint sensor being on the back, because then you have to pick your phone up, then place your finger on the back to unlock it. And yeah, so now you can have it just built right into the screen, which is pretty cool. So you can pick your phone up and unlock it as you pick it up, which is pretty handy. And the last thing here was just kind of some specs that are rumored for this. And honestly, these are pretty, like, playing it safe as far as I would say. You know, nothing too crazy out of spec for this, I don't think. Apparently, it will not be running Android O. Oreo, as it's rumored to be called. Which I can see. You know, Samsung historically doesn't really have the latest version of Android on their devices until the Galaxy S blank comes out the following year. So in the case of last year, it was the Note 7 was still running Marshmallow, but then when the when the Note... Was it the Note 7? Yeah, it was the Note 7. Sorry. I'm losing track of names. When the Note 7 came out, it was still running Marshmallow, but then when the Galaxy S8 came out, it was running Nougat, which is still the newest version to this point. So when the Note 8 comes out, it'll probably still be running Nougat, and then whenever the S9 comes out, that will probably be what's running the newest version of Google's operating system, because that's, you know, Samsung needs some time to put their skin on it and do everything they need to do to it. So anyway, as far as these specs, so we're still going to have the standard Infinity display. Apparently we're going to get a dual lens camera, which is kind of cool. Still going to have either a Snapdragon 835 or Exynos 8895. 64 or 128 gigs of storage, which is pretty nice to see, especially if it's going to be fast storage, because storage in phones, I mean, admittedly, Samsung's gotten better. Like, they put SD cards back into their phones the last couple generations, which is good. But there was a little while where flagship phones weren't having expandable storage, and they didn't even have enough storage built onto the phone on top of that, at least for me personally. So it's nice to see that they're at least putting a lot of storage in the phone by default. The other thing was 6 gigs of RAM, which, I mean, would be nice. I really, really don't know why you need 6 gigs of RAM in a phone. But, I mean, hey, cool. I mean, I'll take it. Sure, why not? Android 7.1 with Samsung Experience UI. I forget what they were calling it before, but not Tizen. That was their TV operating system, but TouchWiz. They're not calling it TouchWiz anymore. I guess they know that name is just... Nobody likes to hear TouchWiz on anything anymore, so I guess they just changed the name. Fast wireless charging, Bixby support, and then improved S Pen, which, is pretty much a given. Every time they come up with a new Note, they have... a much better S Pen than the year before generally, so that's always nice. And apparently support for something called a second-gen Gear Icon X. It says wireless earbuds, so I'm assuming that that's going to be Samsung's answer to the Apple's EarPods, which I don't think they've announced yet. I haven't heard anything about that, but maybe with the Note 8, that's when they'll kind of release that as well as kind of competition for the iPhone 7 Plus or, 8 Plus, as it will probably become later this year. So... that's my rundown of the Note 8 rumors and potential specs. Like I said, a lot of it sounds like it's not necessarily playing it safe. It's kind of just what we would expect. But hey, it's still shaping up to be a hell of a phone. I've always really liked the Note series. I don't have it on me. It's across the room, but I myself rock a Samsung Galaxy Note 4, and even though that thing's a couple years old now, I still love it. I don't feel a need to replace that anytime soon. But hey, who knows? Maybe the Note 8 will change that. Well, I guess we'll see. Anyway... and the last thing not the last thing I want to talk about, the last kind of topic I'm going to go through is, of course, we always like to finish with some video game conversation on here because me and Josh are both huge gamers, so every time we finish the show off, we always like to just talk about some video games. It's kind of a nice, little bit more, perhaps, relaxed and fun way to end the show, so, yeah. Unfortunately, this topic is not very relaxing, though. Why? Because hackers are holding some Cyberpunk 2077 files ransom, and CD Projekt Red, of course, is not negotiating with them. This kind of sucks. Now, in the statement that CD Projekt Red released, they did come out and say that, like, a lot of the files that were taken are not necessarily representative of the game in its current state, in its current build. So a lot of the stuff that these hackers probably got is probably stuff that was very early in development and, like they said, not very representative of how the game's looking now. But it still just kind of sucks. I mean... I guess, they want to get some money, but, like, man, I just want to see Cyberpunk 2077 come out, and I wish people would stop mucking up the works. I mean, CD Projekt Red we're talking about here. I mean, if any of you guys have out there played any of the Witcher games, those games are all awesome, and this is, going to be a huge open-world RPG. It's basically going to be like, not going to be like The Witcher, in this, because obviously it's, completely different setting and characters and stuff, but just in the sense of, like, it's like when, I don't say it's like when a new Grand Theft Auto comes out, but it's like, it's a new Rockstar game. It's like, it's probably going to be good. It's like, it's a new CD Projekt Red game. This game's probably going to be awesome, and I wish people would just stop messing with it. So, hopefully, hopefully either they can somehow get those files back, or I don't know what is going to become of this, but the only thing CD Projekt Red, and I would agree with them on this, is that if any wild rumors or if any wild new details come out about the game, in the very near future, take them with a very, very large grain of salt, because even if it was true at one point, it may or may not be now, because again, the stuff that was stolen was from very early on in the development. So we have no idea if even, what was stolen was even how the game looks now, or if maybe there's characters that are not even in the game. Who knows? I don't know any of the details at all, but if anything comes out that's not directly from CD Projekt Red, I would seriously question it. I'll say that much. But anyway, this next one. Mass Effect Andromeda's bulk was created in less than 18 months? What? This game was in development for like 5 years, right? Well, it was, and that's true. But you guys can read more of the details in the article. I'm going to kind of gloss over a lot of it. But basically, there was a lot of times where stuff got scrapped. There was, a lot of kind of, I don't want to say drama perhaps, because I wasn't there. I don't know that side of it. But there was a lot of stuff that got scrapped and had to be redone. A big part of the issue was the engine they used for this game was Frostbite, which you guys might have heard about before. It was used to make games like Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, I think Dragon Age. No, I don't think it was used for Dragon Age. I'm not sure. But mostly it was designed for first-person shooters. That's why the engine was built. And it does an amazing job with that. I mean, It's done great. I think it was actually also used for Battlefield 1. But yeah, it does a great job for first-person shooting games, but it was obviously not designed to build RPGs. So a lot of the stuff like, the equipment systems, your inventory, just a lot of stuff. It's all kind of going over in the article, but a lot of the stuff that was in that engine, in the game, Mass Effect Andromeda, had to be built from scratch by the developers, and then they had to, of course, figure out how to implement it into the game engine and make it all work. So, yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was kind of, I would almost say it was rushed, because I mean, after Mass Effect Andromeda came out, if any of you have been following that game, you know that it wasn't like it was completely terrible or anything, but, it needed patches for sure. There was the whole Uncanny Valley issue. There was glitches. It wasn't like it was unplayable. It wasn't like a Battlefield 4 scenario or an Assassin's Creed Unity kind of scenario or anything like that, or even a No Man's Sky kind of scenario sort of thing. But it still needed polish, and it's gotten better, but that's probably part of the reason is because a lot of the stuff was done in the last year and a half of the 5-year development, because so much stuff had to get scrapped. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting story. I mean, it still sucks, the kind of state the game was in when it first came out. But, I mean, it gives us a little bit more insight as to why that happened and some of the challenges the developers faced with making this game. So I just thought it was kind of cool. And this last one is going to be really quick, but Prey, the reboot of the Prey from quite a long time ago, came out very recently. A lot of people have been picking it up. This is just an article from Guru 3D. This is a Prey PC graphics performance review. So if you were wondering, hey, can I run this game on my computer at all? These guys did a rundown of the performance on this game at 1080p, 1440, and 4K with 20 different video cards. 20. That's a lot. Everything from an RX 460, so pretty low end, one of the most entry level cards you can get, all the way up to GTX 1080 Ti level. And everything in between from a couple generations back and everything. So if you're unsure if you can run this game, check out this article. It'll give you a bit more insight. Spoiler alert, I will say the RX 480 at 1080p on very high settings averaged 50 FPS. So basically, if you have a mid-range GPU from the last 3 years, you're pretty much fine. It's fine. So yeah, doesn't take a whole lot of power to run the game, which is awesome because it actually looks really good. And apparently it's been really fun. I haven't gotten a chance to check it out yet, but I've watched some gameplay footage and I really want to get it. So as soon as it goes on sale on Steam, I'll probably be picking it up. But yeah, that's all I had for this week. Like I said, it was going to be kind of a shorter episode. But yeah, we'll be back. Of course, I should have Josh with me next Thursday again. Or Thursday when we film Saturday when you guys see. I would say Thursday because we film Thursday. But he should be back with me next week. Until next time, like the video if you liked it. Share it with your friends. Feel free to subscribe to us. We got more videos coming every week. I do plan to do a video over the weekend that'll probably be posted. I'm not going to set a date and shoot myself in the foot, but I will say probably earlier next week. It's going to be covering a lot of stuff that happened at WWDC, Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference. So I'm going to do a video on that, so you guys will be able to check out that soon. But yeah, until then, like I said, like the video if you liked it, share it with your friends, and subscribe. I will see you next week.